During the night between August 27th and August 28th, 1991, disaster struck the New York City subway system when a southbound number 4 train derailed just before Union Square, killing multiple people and injuring many more. In this video, I tell you the story of the folded 4 train. On August 27, 1991 at 11:30 p.m., 38-year-old motorman Robert E. Ray reported to the Woodlawn Terminal on the number 4 line to begin his 8-hour-long shift. He was 15 minutes late. Percival Halsack, the train's dispatcher, allowed Ray to go on duty despite multiple signs that should have disqualified him from service that night, including him wearing tennis shoes and having bloodshot eyes. Ray proceeded to take control of a downtown 4 train formed of 10 R62 type cars at 11:38 p.m., 6 minutes later than the train's scheduled departure. After departing Woodlawn, Ray overran the first stop, Marshall Parkway, by 5 cars. "Hey, what happened?" David Barham, the train's conductor, asked over the PA system. However, there was no coherent reply. Ray overran the next stop, Bedford Park Boulevard, as well, this time by only 1 car. The train's conductor, David Barham, again reprimanded Ray, with Ray responding, "Don't worry, I'm alright." Through the next several stations, Ray became overly cautious, crawling into stations. "Stop fooling around," the conductor said, and Ray speeded up again, with his operation of the train becoming more and more erratic the longer he was driving. One witness, Jerry Yamble, mentioned in an interview that the train started going quote-unquote crazy fast. Surprisingly, Ray did not trip any red signals, which would have activated the train's brakes. Multiple riders on the train recalled Ray's train coming to abrupt halts at some stations, and that the train started jerkily rocking as if it was moving too fast, even more than the 55-mile-an-hour top operational speed of it. Even through all of this, not the conductor, not the passengers, and not even the off-duty conductor who was riding that train home had pulled the emergency brake cord. The train eventually reached Lower Manhattan, and on the southbound express track, which was the track that Ray's train was traveling on, there were construction works. This required southbound express trains to switch to the local track. Express trains that switched tracks needed to slow down to 10 miles per hour to access a pocket track. At approximately 12:12 a.m. on August 28, 1991, Ray's train derailed at the pocket track just north of the 14th Street Union Square station. The train was traveling at nearly 50 miles per hour when it hit the switch. The lead car veered right, smashing into the tunnel wall, then veered left, smashing into several support columns, which caused the street above to subside by half an inch. The lead car was cut in half and had its roof sheared off after striking a steel pillar. The second car was folded in half by the barrier between the express and local tracks. The third car was split in half and folded around a support beam, and the next 2 were also seriously damaged. One emergency responder said that the train was so damaged he couldn't even tell where one car ended and another began at some points. 2 transit police officers on the platform at 14th Street had witnessed the accident, and because of that, the response was quick. Paramedics and other emergency responders used the platform for triage and executed field treatment at street level. At approximately 3:30 a.m., the last injured passenger, with that being the off-duty conductor on board, was extracted from the train. In total, 5 passengers unfortunately passed away. 165 people were taken to hospitals, including 24 emergency responders who suffered heat-related conditions and minor cuts. This was the deadliest subway accident to happen in New York since the Times Square derailment of 1928. Mr. Ray is somehow unharmed as the operator's cab remained intact, jumped down onto the track bed, and made his way onto the platform. He identified himself to 2 transit police officers and proceeded to walk out of the station. The officers left him as they were more worried about the passengers who were still stuck in the tunnel. Ray sat on a bench in Union Square Park for a while, trying to get his bearings. He then walked to a nearby grocery store and bought 3 beers. He took them back to the bench and drank them there as he watched a huge rescue effort unfold around him. Sometime after 3:30 a.m., Ray had disappeared in violation of New York City Transit Authority rules, prohibiting personnel from leaving the scene of an accident. Later, 4 transit police officers were sent to Mr. Ray's apartment, where, after a bit of staking out, he was arrested at 5:30 a.m. After being questioned by NYPD detectives at the 13th Precinct, Ray said that he had drunk heavily the day before his work shift because he was depressed that his ex-girlfriend would not let him see their 2 children, and that throughout the operation of the train, and at the time of the derailment, he had fallen asleep. He was tested for alcohol in his bloodstream about 13 hours after the incident, with it being delayed due to the necessity of obtaining a court order. His blood alcohol level was 0.21, and at the time, the legal level in New York State was 0.10. The next year, on October 15, 1992, Ray was found guilty of 5 counts of second-degree manslaughter, and on November 6th of that same year, he was sentenced to 5 to 15 years in prison, plus terms of between 1 and 7 years for assault on 26 of the injured passengers. He was released from prison in April of 2002. The day after the crash, it was announced that the MTA would begin random testing of its subway crews and bus drivers for drugs and alcohol. They also estimated that they would have to pay between $5 and $10 million to accident victims. 6 days after the derailment, on September 3rd, service resumed on the Lexington Avenue line after the site investigation, debris removal, and construction work was finished. The 5 subway cars destroyed in the accident were scrapped. The switches and tracks at the accident site were rebuilt, with the MTA removing the pocket track where the train derailed, replacing it with a simple diamond crossover. In addition to all of this, the MTA added diverging grade time signals to force switching trains to slow down. A 1992 study commissioned after the accident found that some signals in the subway system, including several on the Lexington Avenue line, were spaced too closely for a train traveling at maximum speed to have time to stop. The incident ultimately led to the phasing in of timer signals throughout the system. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I'm thinking of making this a series named Tales from the Subway, where I tell these interesting stories about things that happened in the subway system in the past, whether it be a derailment, folktale, or anything else that may be interesting to talk about. Definitely tell me down in the comment section below if you would like to see more of these videos, or maybe even a video about the 1929 Times Square derailment that I mentioned earlier in this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I'll catch all of you in the next one.